This is Andi Purewal for ID Boxing. I'm joined by trainer Ben Davison here in London. Ben, it's weighing day. Both your fighters have weighed in. Start off with Pat McCormack. What do you make of seeing him up on the scales?
Yeah, I mean, it was a nice introduction for him. It's a moment that he's been looking forward to, Matchroom debut. And he'd just be excited to get going tomorrow now.
Of course, there's always excitement around him when he turned over into the pro ranks. His Matchroom debut, as you mentioned. What are you hoping to see from him come tomorrow night?
Do you know what it is? It's unusual that you see someone have their debut and then have like a promotional debut so soon. So he's had his debut. He's had 2 quick knockouts. You know, what we want to see now is development. Him go in there and practice things, take his time, gain some experience. And although that's not what people think is best for building the hype, it's what we need for us to be able to move him at a rate that we feel he can be moved at.
It's an interesting point you make there. With his amateur achievements, a lot of people would have expected him to move quickly through the pro ranks, but from what you're saying, you want to take your time with him.
Not take our time, but I think if we tick off boxes along the way, like if he's just constantly blowing people away in 1 round, 2 rounds and that, I know it builds hype in that, but the reality of that is he's not going to develop as well into as well of a fighter as he could do if he was practicing things in there. And it won't. We can move him pretty quickly, so it won't be too long before he's in a position where he won't be able to go in there and practice things against these opponents. He'll be having to, he'll be in a more of a challenging test. So it's important that he uses these opportunities now to go in there, practice things, work on things, gain some experience, and it won't be long before he's competing for the British title and things like that.
Mark Dickinson also making his Matchroom debut. What should everybody expect to see from him when he steps between the ropes?
Same with Mark. I think so. He blew away his first opponent. I purposely put in a very durable guy after that, a couple of weights above, just to very quickly teach him that if you go in there and try and blow people away, that's not what the elite fighters do. You can't afford to keep doing that. So he learned that lesson. Next fight, still a little bit eager. This fight, I want to see him take his time, work on the things that we've been working on. And he's got an opportunity because Gideon's a tough lad. He boxed the Olympic gold medalist at Mark's weight at the Tokyo Olympics and gave a good account of himself. And I think Mark's got an opportunity to do a better job. And I don't mean go in there and blow him away. I mean go in there and look like a seasoned professional. And that's what I feel like we should see from Mark tomorrow.
Mark, somebody who's always gone under the radar a little bit, so for you now, how important is it that he shines tomorrow night to look towards a big 2023 for himself? Yeah,
I think the thing with Mark is the hopes were for him to go to Paris. I think that was the plan. He didn't want to stay around amateurs in the hopes of going to Paris, so he turned pro. And what was the question again, sorry?
It just kind of slipped in my mind now, just that he's always kind of gone under the radar now, so how important is it that he impresses tomorrow night to set up a big 2023?
Yeah, I think from what I'm hearing, he's been moved on to the live card as well with the Craig Richards situation, so it's an opportunity for him, but again, I want him to look like a seasoned professional, not a young kid prospect coming through that's running in there a million miles an hour and blowing someone away. That's not what I want to see. I know that builds hype and people think that that's impressive, but what's impressive to me is the composure, being settled, relaxed, playing his attacks off of each other and controlling the action. That's what I want to see from Mark.
Away from Mark, just sticking with the Jimbo, Lee Wood has once again been ordered to fight Leo Santa Cruz. Ben, do you expect it to be the pair of them squaring off next?
I was supposed to have a conversation with Eddie before the weigh-in. I was running behind a little bit, so I didn't have a chance. I suppose I'll have a chat with him in a moment, and we'll have a little bit more information on that tomorrow.
Where's Lee's head at with it all? Because obviously been a frustrating period in time for him. What is he kind of currently thinking?
I think Lee'd love to fight Leo Santa Cruz, issue being the split. So we don't know what the situation is with Leo Santa Cruz, but we know that the Lara fight was made. It's a fight that Lee's open for. It's a big fight that everyone was looking forward to. 2 big punchers, great clash of styles, and but also there's the Josh Warrington. That's a mega fight between them. If Josh comes through his fight in a couple of weeks, so lots of options out there. But Leo Santa Cruz at the moment is a determining factor.
A couple of weeks on as well from Shabaz Masoud's victory against Jack Bates, and just reflect again for me, Ben, how impressed you were from what Shabaz showed.
Yeah, it was pretty much what I expected. I said before the fight that I think that Jack Bateson's a good British level fighter and belongs around British level, but I think Shabaz is fringe world level, and feel like that's how the fight played out.
And Ben, just get your thoughts on a few other topics. The main event here, Whyte-Franklin. Dillian a big favourite, but what do you know about Jermaine? What are you expecting from that fight?
Yeah, I was actually contacted about working with Jermaine Franklin for this fight, but I had a little look at him and I just feel like, not that he's tailor-made for Dillian, but he falls in with his left hook, and that's a bad recipe when Dillian Whyte's got a left hook like he's got. So I think that inside 6 it'll be over for Dillian.
We're looking towards next year of a potential Andi-Joshua rematch for Dillian. Would that be one you'd like to see next, or would you like to say maybe AJ go elsewhere?
I don't know. I mean, it's rare that you get an opportunity at that level to. He's a student of the game, obviously, and it's rare that you get an opportunity when you're at that level to have fights where you can go in and practice things. I think this is his opportunity to maybe have a couple of those opponents, develop a few things, because he's still learning, always learning. He's that type of character. From what I get, obviously I don't know him. But on the other side of the spectrum, new deal with the zone, big expectations, responsibilities. So, of course, the Dillian Whyte fight is going to be one of the biggest fights in British boxing history again.
Andi-Joshua came out a few weeks ago and said that he wants to kind of float about now the training scene, doesn't want to tie himself down, wants to take in as much knowledge as possible. Ben, if the opportunity arose, would you work with Andi-Joshua?
I would have a discussion, of course. As I said, a student of the game, someone that's hungry to learn. From what I see from an outside perspective, anybody that's got that attitude, this is my passion, this is what I enjoy to do. So anybody with that attitude, I'm willing to help in whatever role that I can do. So, yeah, I mean, look, I'm sure if he goes along and does that, he will eventually find someone that he clicks with and will settle down for. But I think it's a good idea for him. More so if he was to have a couple of fights that he can work on things and develop with. But if he's got if he's going straight into a Dillian Whyte fight and it's a new relationship and that, sometimes that can be a little bit difficult as well. So it's something to consider.
He said that he wants to go and do some training with Roy Jones Jr. Rather, Roy Jones Jr. said that they've had a conversation about doing a bit of work together. Would you understand that move? Do you think he needs something else? Just your thought.
Well, I think it depends. Will Roy Jones try and encourage him to box like Roy Jones? I don't know. Roy Jones got a fantastic boxing IQ. I think that people just associate when it's an ex-fighter that's coaching, he's going to try and train him as he fought. I'm sure he's going to share some of the knowledge. Principles are more important than style. So what he is doing more than exactly how he's doing it. And Joshua will implement those things into his own style. All that considered, style, I think, is something that Andi-Joshua is maybe a little bit caught up with, or not quite sure on himself or how he wants to approach it. But that's why I think it's a good opportunity for him to have a couple of fights and find his feet again. Because against Purewal, he looked fantastic.
Obviously, with AJ, a lot of people said that they want to see him kind of get back to more of that aggressive nature. They felt maybe he showed it at times in the Usyk rematch.
Mate, sorry to cut you short there, but this is boxing, right? It goes in with that, and this is something that is so important. Everybody was going on about that, right? AJ loses to Andy Ruiz. He's just aggressive, he can't box, he can't this, he can't that. He goes away, beats Ruiz like that, receives some criticism, performs how he performed against Pulev, which I thought was a brilliant performance. Then he goes and loses to Usyk, trying to box as people would dumb it down to. Gets criticised. It's one of them. You have to be able to adapt. And this is something that Lee Wood, for example, he beat Kanzu on the back foot. He beat Mick Conlon more so on the front foot. You have to be able to adjust. You have to be able to make adjustments depending on the opponent and what the opponent's looking to do and the opponent's strengths and weaknesses. So you shouldn't dumb it down to he needs to be more aggressive, he needs to be this. It depends on who he's boxing. If he's recklessly aggressive against Dillian Whyte, you're going to make that a tougher fight than what it needs to be, or a riskier fight than it needs to be. So yeah, it's depending on the opponent how you need to approach it.
Get your thoughts on the Parker-Ryder fight as well this weekend, Ben?
Do you know what? I haven't watched much of Zach Parker, so it's hard, I can't have too much of a comment on that. All I can say is I know John Ryder, brilliant guy. gave Mark loads of experience, sharing some rounds with Mark, which we're greatly appreciative for. Fantastic fighter, strong as a bull. I've known John for a while and really get on well with Tony, so I'm wishing them all the best in that one. But I haven't watched much of Zach Parker, so I can't really comment on it.
Fury-Chisora trilogy next week, Ben. Tyson a big favourite. People writing Derek off, but your thoughts on it as it's only a week away now?
I think if Tyson goes in there and tries to blow him away and overly aggressive, he'll make it more of an entertaining fight. But if he takes his time and gradually breaks him down and gets a stoppage that way, I think he'll look good doing so.
And then away from that, we saw the IBF called for Filip Hrgovic to face Alexander Usyk next, which might put potential undisputed bout in jeopardy. Just get your take on boxing politics on that front.
Money talks, bullshit walks. No, I think Hrgovic be in a position where he's desperate for the opportunity as well. But at the same time, I know the IBF are very strict. I don't know if a conversation can be had there where I'm sure for Hrgovic as well, he'd rather box for the undisputed, an opportunity to box for the undisputed. So might be an opportunity that he can step aside, allow that fight to take place and box the winner. I don't know, but I know the IBF are very strict, so we'll see.
And any update on Billy Joe?
Just training, enjoying his training, lost a lot of weight, looking good. So yeah, no fine details to share, but he's enjoying his training. He's lost a lot of weight. So
when does the discussion come between the pair of you to say, right, do you want to get back in the ring or not?
Well, you got Christmas coming up. I think he'll enjoy his Christmas, and after that, he'll make a decision of if he wants to and where he wants to. I think with what's been going on with the Eubank Ben situation and then Eubank Smith as well now, so that would have had a part to play. But now they're boxing late January. I think Billy Joe might look to get out early part of the year if he decides to, and go from there.
Eubank Smith, Ben, what is your take on that?
Do you know what it is? Liam Smith's a very underrated fighter in my opinion. I know Eubank likes to put his hands together and that, but Liam Smith's a very efficient fighter. Even when he boxed Canelo, he pushed Canelo back, made Canelo work. So if Eubank comes out and he's, with his high volume type style, which against someone like Liam Smith in a high guard can be very tempting to do so. Liam's an experienced guy, a tough guy, and I think that he could end up really pushing the pace with Eubank, and it'd be very interesting. Or if Eubank might be a little bit cuter than that and look to box, so to speak, a little bit more on the back foot, a little bit more efficiently, a little bit more with the lead hand. Again, that'll make it an interesting fight. So I'd like to see how both guys go about, more so how Eubank could go about the fight and how Liam will deal with what it is that Eubank's bringing. But I think Liam's a top quality fighter and very underrated.
Right, Ben, I know your team's waiting for you to do this interview and then shoot off, so thanks for speaking to me in ID Box.
No problem, mate.